Welcome, everyone. Tonight's Board of Education meeting is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Again, welcome, everyone. Glad you're here. Colleagues, hello. In place of Secretary Joslin will not be here tonight, so Member Donahue will be acting secretary this evening. So, Member Donahue, could you please take roll?
All members are present except Secretary Joslin.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on now, colleagues, to the approval of the agenda. Unless there are objections, the agenda will be approved as printed. Okay. Very good. We're now going to move on to public comments on action items. So those are the items that we'll be voting on this evening. I currently do not have any green cards, but is there anyone who'd like to address the board this evening? Excellent. Very good. Colleagues, on now to our consent agenda. Colleagues, unless there are objections, our consent agenda is approved as presented. Very good. All right, we've got a great way to start off our information items here with our holiday performance. So we're going to turn it over to Ms. Dixon.
Well, good evening. I am very pleased to have before you today representation from Kettering High School's band. We have the saxophone quartet, and they're here with their teacher, Ms. Zilhaver. If the students would like to come forward to prepare, we have Alice Castillo, Haley Milmeen, Bailey, and Zoe Oxenrider.
Welcome you forward. So happy you're here. Thank you. Colleagues, if you could just jump over, would you mind moving your microphone towards them so that... we just assumed you'd play for an hour and a half or so. Can we get your names, please?
Yeah, I'm Alex Castillo.
I'm Haley Milmine.
I'm Zoe Oxenberry. I'm Bailey McLean.
Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. And you have 6 eager people up here. So, Member Sutherland, do you want to start us off?
Oh, my God. I'm going to tell you, I played the bari sax and the alto sax, and I played all through high school, and I could have never dreamed of sounding like that. And I have never heard a high school saxophone quartet sound that good.
Yeah.
I could hear that bari sax, I could hear every one of you playing your parts spot on perfect. That was stellar. That was, what a great way to get into the holiday spirit. Thank you. I can tell you practice together all the time because you were right there with each other. I mean, that was just, awesome. That was awesome.
Patricia.
Again, I look at some shiny brass things thinking, what a weird looking instrument. But the sound that comes out, my son played alto sax, but it didn't sound like that. It just, thank you, it's wonderful.
Member Donahue, please.
What a great way to start the holiday season. Phenomenal playing up there. Yeah, as Member Sutherland said, very sharp, right on, and just what a great time. I wish you could play some more tonight. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Do you play parties?
You sounded fabulous. Wonderful job. Good job to your whole group. It's so much fun to have you here to perform, to give us a chance to see you shine at what you do. And I know your collage is coming up soon, so if more people want to see them shine, I would highly recommend to get tickets to see Kettering's collage. It's a wonderful concert, but you did a fabulous job. Thank you so much for bringing a little bit of joy to our meeting for sure tonight. We appreciate it. Oh, and when is the collage? Bailey, when is the collage?
I think it's next Thursday, the first performance.
Okay.
And then Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday, all right. So you've got 3 opportunities to come see these kids play. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, same thing. Everybody is, just kudos, excellent. I closed my eyes. I felt like I was like at the music theater in Detroit or something. You guys are that good and on point with each other. And are you guys going to play at the Hoopla on Saturday, the township? They're having the Christmas Hoopla here on Saturday, no?
That's Mott's Jazz Band.
Oh, is okay. All right. So, but you will be at the, you guys will be doing a concert though, right? The collage, right? So fantastic though. You guys are on point. We loved it.
Yeah. Please.
Sorry, I totally was remiss in not saying this. Thank you to you as their instructor for supporting them and guiding them, and it was just really a delight, and we appreciate you and helping to bring them to that level of magnificence. It was really wonderful.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and thank you for all you do. We're so lucky to have such a sort of thriving performing arts program in our music program, and evidence of all the great hard work. So thank you for being here. Have a great rest of the evening. We'll see you in a couple days.
Parents, I know we saw a couple parents in the audience as well, and we want to thank you because we know you've probably been listening to them, taking them to practice, making sure they practiced all these many, many years, and what a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for us to see all the fruits of that labor as well, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, excellent. All right. On to the boring stuff. Here we go. Information item B, our 24-25 Board of Education meeting schedule. So colleagues, the board has received the proposed meeting schedule for Committee of the Whole and our regular Board of Education meetings for the 24-25 school year, and a recommendation for approval will be presented at the January 18th organizational meeting. Any comments, questions, colleagues? We're now going to move on to, we should have reminded our amazing musicians here a second ago, to our Mott and Kettering PAC improvements. And we're going to welcome up Assistant Superintendent Elka.
you very much. I have a few guests here tonight to help me. So you might remember Carla Ramirez. She is our project head for our construction projects with Barton Mallow. And we also have Dan Jerome, who is our architect from French and Associates.
Familiar faces.
Yes. So the first thing for information tonight is we're looking at our Performing Arts Center, or PACs as we call them. They were built and opened in 2002, and since then we've really done very little with them. They've been amazing additions to our community and for our staff and students. But we're now at the time where we need to do some refreshing. So we looked at French to bring in an expert that would help us look at the equipment that is nearing the end of life and to give us some options and some ratings for that equipment and what should be replaced. So we worked with Jason Pratt, who is our PAC manager, to go through that list and really narrow down what was the important things. So the information that I also sent you from the FAQs talks about we're going to do the theater lighting and controls, which are really crucial. We're going to do the house lighting and the sound system, which again should bring everything up to par. We're also doing some refreshing. We're replacing the acoustical tiles in the auditorium and in the lobby, so we'll have a different look to the lobby, which should freshen it up and make it look modern. And we're doing a few other things to freshen up the space as well. So the bids are coming in December 19th, and we're going to bring a recommendation at the January 18th board meeting.
Colleagues, comments or questions we have? Member Donahue, please.
In taking a look at what needed to be renovated, did you guys, I assume that you guys took a look at the main curtain for both of them, because I know that those are fire retardant curtains that have a shelf life on that. And how are those still holding up well at this point?
That is not part of this bid. That is something else we're looking at, because it's not the only building that has curtains that we're looking at and just checking out. So that's a different project, separate from this.
Okay.
Member Torres, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight the same thing. I believe we had parents here probably like 6-7 months ago that had raised that as an issue. I speak specifically at Kettering with the curtains, and that they didn't work right any longer. You know, as Member Donahue said, you know, they're 20 years old plus, but if they're fire retardant, and are they still safe? Yeah, I know that was an issue that I actually had a couple parents reach out to me about that, and they were here at our board meeting, I believe, a few months ago. So, but if it's something that you guys can look at, and if it's not in the bid for this time, when might it be? Because I would suspect there are going to be people in the community who are interested in that being done too, or if it's a priority.
So I do not have that information with me tonight. I know when it came up, we did look at it, and we set aside a time to take a look at it, but I do not have that information here. So I'll take a look at it, see what we have. I know Jason is part of that conversation, and if it's not at the high schools, then principals are a part of that conversation as well. So I know we've been looking at it. I do know we inspect them regularly, so if there's anything wrong with them, we immediately go ahead and make sure they're fixed. So that going on would always be done regardless, but the replacement, that is something, you know, that we're looking at. So we just don't have, I don't have a timeline on that right now.
Thank you.
Member Sutherland.
I recognize that it seems like just yesterday that we opened the PACs, and it has been 21 years now. So I know that the sound systems especially, but we did address that. I suspect this is going to be a pretty significant bid when we see it. And I think it's always nice for board members to see the bid as far in advance of having to vote on it, so that we can ask, because this is pretty significant areas with lighting, controls, sound systems, all of these things. If we can have it broken down and a little more specific about what we're doing, you know, so that we understand the detail as well as the dollars associated to that. And ideally, with enough time that we can contact you and ask the questions, because I know it's a month from now that we're voting on it, but we will have those bids in just another week or so, it looks like. So I would just, because it's going to be so substantial, I'm just guessing based on the verbiage before us. Typically, we have the bids and the dollars, and I don't mean typically, I mean in the past when we had big bids like this, the information item included the bids. and this one does not, and I know because of the cow and the way we do things, it's changed, but for something like this, it would be really helpful to have those numbers as soon as possible so that we can digest them and ask appropriate questions, and make sure we understand exactly what we are doing and what we are paying for.
Okay, thank you.
Member Wagner.
When the approval goes through, what is the timeline? I guess Carla or
So it
Dan
will
might be best
actually be
too.
fall of next year.
Okay.
And that has to do a lot with the timelines
Okay.
of what the equipment is and just getting everything started. But we worked with Jason to make sure that it would be as minimal disruption as possible. That's why we're looking at next fall.
Okay. And how long does it usually take to go through the whole process? Is it like a good couple of months just to,
To obtain the bids and,
no, to get the actual work done?
oh,
Like,
get the work done, we're estimating 2 months.
Okay.
And we're going to do one school at a time. So.
okay, I know that we were looking at doing it possibly this spring, and I know there was things that pushed it off, but I am looking forward to seeing the refreshed.
You should know there's a substantial lead time in obtaining the light fixtures and the equipment.
Okay.
That's needed. That happens before that 2 months starts, so it will take a long time to review and place those orders and get that equipment here.
Okay.
Before the work can actually start on site.
I'm looking forward to it. The blinking light that's been blinking for the last couple of years may finally stop blinking, so. It's at both. It's not just one that blinks, so thank you.
Member Patricia, please.
And again, things need to be replaced. They get older, they have to be replaced. We asked, hey, what do you guys want to? Is this what we have to have, or is this a wish list of, if we can get all this, this would be great?
We always start with the wish list and then get down to reality. And that's why bringing in a third party to really evaluate the status of the equipment and what its life is and what they recommend in a replacement really helps us. So we knew we couldn't do everything, but we wanted to at least know all the things that we might want to do if we had the funds, and then we brought it down. So this is still a substantial amount based on estimates, but we really are getting down to not only what we really need to function, but also what would help our students in the day-to-day experience.
Because I think we've replaced the light bulbs into, I don't know, LED or something.
Correct. A lot of the technology has changed as well. Part of the reason we can't do some of the replacements is simply because it doesn't exist anymore. The product we have is gone. So, well, not light bulbs, but like the controllers and stuff, so.
Well, you do not have LED lamps in your auditoriums at this
so-
time. They're still the incandescent
Yeah.
lamps that were there.
But again, I think they're more of a fluorescent type bulb compared to we've replaced the bulbs, I think, at one time.
I believe we've done some updates in there along the way with the lighting and stuff, but there is different lighting between the stage, the audience, the orchestra pit. So, and we treated them separately when we were doing this as well.
I've got a garage full of different types of light bulbs going, oh, they got the new one out, let's start replacing it. Oh, they already changed them, and before I get them all changed, I get that, but we've done some things, I just want to make sure this isn't, hey, I want all this, and then get this bid and make it look like a parking lot of, are you kidding me, money? So that's, I hate spending money.
These are bond dollars, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I hate spending money. I don't care whose dollars, it's money. So, but again, yes, thank you.
I did just want to say one thing about the bids when we do get them. So it is not out to bid yet. We were going to open up the bids the first week of January, so we could definitely get those. As soon as we open the bids, we can get the detail and break it down, and you'll definitely have it at least 10 days before, we meet with the board on the 18th.
So they're not due December 19th?
No, we did extend it. We had 2 openings. We just had 2 bid openings, and we thought with the holidays, it'd be better just to extend it because we wanted to, and we want some time. We don't want just to put it out for 2 weeks because it's equipment. It's going to take a lot of time for them to gather bids, so we do want to give them at least 3 weeks. And with the holidays, that's how it worked out.
Megan, is it necessary to update the information item for, thank you.
Will these are such a gem in our district, and I'm really looking forward to these. I was at the sixth grade orchestra concert last week, and Ms. House, who's our orchestra teacher over at Pierce, reminded all of the parents how lucky we are because so many districts are still having their concerts in the cafeteria. And we have these beautiful, beautiful performing arts centers. And when she also reminded the parents that these upgrades were included in the 2020 bond, there was a loud roar from our parents. So I know this is going to be really welcomed in our community. So really looking forward to it. Colleagues, anything else?
Maybe if, I know this is going to sound strange, but if included in the bid package, we could somehow understand what is new, like would be noticeable versus replacement. You know, I know some of this is replacement technology. What is different and new? It'd be nice to know what features we're adding to the PACs through this, if it's a really significant dollars, so that we can speak to our community on that, in that regard. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, colleagues. We're looking forward to that. We're going to keep this team up here, and we're going to talk a little bit now about our transportation building remodel.
Okay, so it hasn't been 20 years, however, it has been 12. We used to have a building called the service building, and we made a decision to demolish that and take the programs that were housed in there and separate them out. One of those programs was the offices for the transportation. So we had a bus garage. We altered the bus garage, taking one of the bays and making room for the offices and the part storage. This year, we were going to look at, as part of the bond, additional storage. But when we started looking at how we use the building, we realized that we really needed to basically remodel the offices. We needed a better location to train and meet with our drivers. We have a very small lounge right now. It's very difficult, if impossible, to meet with them all in one space, and let alone train them in there. So that was one that we really wanted to do. We wanted to put the offices together so that we can have better communication. The staff would be able to see them and access them easier. They would not be hearing all the time, when they're walking in the office, they hear the phones, they hear the radios, and the drivers don't need that going to the lounge. It gives them a chance to separate out that as well. In addition, we have some other things we just have to do over there. We have the oil containment that needs to be done. We have some other just safety measures that need to be done as well as replacing overhead doors and doing a new electrical panel, moving the tech closet around. So we're redesigning the space so that is more efficient and just doing a little bit of exterior storage to add to it.
Comments or questions we have? Member Sutherland, please.
So it's a remodel of the remodel? We're doing a new layout of what was remodeled 10 years ago, is that right?
Yes. Have you been there recently? Because it's...
I think it's only been, I've been there 2 years ago.
Okay, so the layout is not very efficient. It is really past some of its usefulness, and we really need a better layout to just use the space better. There are some other issues with the building that we need to fix with the mezzanine and the part storage up above on the second floor, a catwalk that needs to be removed. We need to make a little bit of changes to make the safety in that area, especially in the mechanics area, a little bit better.
And then we're going to build an entirely new structure as well?
It's going to be just a small storage shed that'll be outside of it. We were originally looking at doing a whole pole barn with heat and light up by where the fuel tanks are. But when we went through the process, we realized we don't need that much of a building separate. We just need a little bit extra storage, and we'll use the space to make it a little bit more efficient and safe within the existing building.
Other comments or questions?
I'm not sure if I'm the only one that feels this way. I recognize that we have to do all of these things, but these sound like big things. And it's been a while since we had a full discussion, not about bond projects we are working on, but what is in our purview in terms of the wish list of the district. We haven't had a conversation about, these are things that we have in our 2-year plan or 3-year plan or a 5-year plan in quite some time. And like, I didn't know about either of these projects up until we started talking about them very recently. Do we have an opportunity at a COW meeting or a place where we can say, this is our wish list as a district? You know, these are all the things that we've talked about doing, and here's how we've prioritized them. Is that a discussion we can have? Not what are we working on, but what still needs to be done, and what do we think that looks like? I think that would be, really helpful to have some visibility to the needs of the district and, you know, where we're going from here. I think if my colleagues.
I agree with that. I mean, I think this is, we're on the board, we're in the community, right? Parents talk to us, you know, so we know the needs of the community, and I think it's just good. It's good for a conversation so that we know what's ahead. You know, what is that list of the things that we think are important, and obviously hearing from our administrators as well, and what you're looking at, and then, you know, just the meeting of the minds, I think, would be helpful on that information, because these are big votes, big decisions that we do have to make.
Member Shusha.
And why? Again, there's the storage shed. Is that because we're taking down the mezzanine, so we're getting rid of the upstairs storage and putting it in a?
What we're trying to do is there are parts that we can inventory and keep on hand that will be useful. Some of the parts that we'd like to do that are getting bigger. We could actually have axles, we should have brakes, we could have things like that on hand that would be helpful for doing more things in-house rather than sending them out. So that's really our idea, is to get some more room for parts. Obviously, you know, some of those parts are so big and heavy, you couldn't put them on a second story. We don't have an elevator there. There's no way that we could get them up. So we need a good place to put them. Right now, they're on the bay floor with the garage in the garage. That is not a great option for it. So even if we build it, what the bond had originally said was a second building up by the fuel pumps, you know, that's still not a great place when you're doing the work down the hill. So what we're doing is actually putting a storage shed behind the current building where some of the parking is to the north, so that we would have an accessible place to put some of that equipment.
So how, again, I'm thinking Sam's Club, the little plastic one they have outside. How big a shed are you talking? Any clue?
I think we landed at 20 by 20.
I think so,
400
yeah.
square feet. So
Small two-car garage.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
a prefabricated concrete structure, got concrete walls and a concrete roof, so it's a, you know, solution we've used before. It's cost effective, and, you know, it's not a great building.
Cost effective, I like that.
Good.
You got me at cost effective.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Member Wagner, please.
And this was in the bond language, correct?
Yes.
It was in the 2020 bond language. I remember it being in the bond language that this was
Correct.
something that needed to be done, and that the transportation buildings were part of it. So our community did vote to have this done. So this was something we were
Yes.
already preparing to do.
Correct.
I do like the fact that we are giving them a better training space. Being in that space, I know that it is very
Small.
confined and small, and I think that's important, that we also do things to show our staff the value
Yes.
of having a space for them that's a little bit more conducive to their ability to do their jobs better. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So colleagues, before we move on to the next item here, we'll work with Superintendent Lindberg and Megan to look ahead at next year's schedule to see, to have a kind of bond status update, look at what's been sort of written into the bond language already, and to have a conversation about our needs and how we can work to make sure all are fulfilled. Member Sutherland?
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, bond language was not specific. I mean, when we talk about the bond language itself, what we voted on didn't have, what the community voted on did not have any of these things in it. That was a very vague but then we had other documentation that said, here are the things that we're thinking about doing, as I recall.
Correct. So the ballot language is usually meant to be vague.
Right.
Because things change.
Right.
By the time you're getting the ballot language started. And
Absolutely.
stuff. But the Treasury application had more detail.
Right.
And that's what we've been using for our blueprint of all our projects.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask, if maybe
Yes.
we could see that it's been I don't know, 5, 6 years. I mean, no, because we submitted it well before then.
Correct, but we have
haven't-
been sharing it since then, but we'll certainly do it again. We'll show you what we've done, what we're planning on doing, so that, just to keep it fresh in your mind, because there are obviously a lot of projects.
Right, no, I know, I know I've seen it, it's just that I don't have a current copy, and it would be really helpful to look at it again. I know we submitted it well before we voted on it in 2020, so it's probably been 5 years. December of 19.
Yeah, so very,
yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah,
I thought it
yeah.
was 2 years ago.
And
So-
we still use that application as our, when we start a project, we go back to that application and see what was on that work list as our
Good.
starting
That's
point,
great.
and then
No,
we
I-
move forward
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, that's terrific. So if we could maybe include that in that study session, that portion of
Right.
the study session, that would be really helpful. I mean, for me, because I don't remember all of it, I just don't remember.
Well, I think when we looked at this as a information item, we found we had 350 projects. So that's a lot of projects to try to remember.
All right, excellent. Thank you, colleagues. Let's now move on to our drainage easement. Assistant Superintendent Elka?
Yes. So as part of building a new building, like we're doing with Stepanski, and moving an old building, part of what you look at is where the new items are going to be, your parking lot, your building, your permeable versus your non-permeable areas, and you develop your water rain-off plan. So we had put, as part of that plan for the parking lot, the new parking lot is a new drainage area in the southwest corner of it. And so the county has asked us to do an easement. There is a small portion that has runoff from Campbell Gate, and they would like us to actually sign an easement. Our attorney looked at it. Basically, the one you have is the one that he recommends, not the one that the county recommended, which was basically wide open and was a little bit more permissive than we would ever have. So our attorney came in, made it as a non-permanent, anything you want to do, you got to go through us sort of thing. We have Dan here to talk about specific requirements of it, how we came up with it, why we're even have to have an easement, and sort of talk through that process.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, to try to be brief here, and we have a civil engineer group that we work with and who actually designed the system, so I'm not the expert. But on the south, it would be southwest corner of the Stepanski property, there's a small area of Hatchery Road that actually, when the stormwater, it actually drains into your parking lot and then goes into storm drains and into a storm drain system that drains the roads. So it kind of takes that circumvented route. We're putting in an all-new storm drainage system that not only catches the rainwater, but filters it after it comes off a parking lot and then sends it a new route into that same detention pond that's kind of back behind, in the middle of that subdivision. We still need to pick up the drainage from the road. We can't take that away or else the road will flood every time it rains. So normally we would put that drainage system in the right of way. But with the edge of the pavement on Campbell Gate to the property line, there's a water main in there. We don't want to put the storm drain right over top of the water main. We actually can't do that. So we're going to put the storm drain on your property to get the water from the roads back to that same detention pond. And the road commission says this is a good solution, but we want to make sure nobody ever builds over this so that someday the roads flood because we didn't get this easement in place to prevent that from happening. So that's all this is their protection, that you're not going to build something over this. It's a 10-foot by about 60-foot long strip of property in the southwest corner. That they want that easement to make sure that, no, you never put anything there that makes their roads flood. So that's what it is.
Member Prashusha, the members have.
This just gets drained back to our big retention pond then back in the back of the neighborhood?
It's,
Kind of
well,
the
the detention,
north-
it's not our detention pond, it's a detention pond that's there, but
The
yeah, that's where it
retention pond that
goes.
we've been using.
Yeah.
It doesn't drain into the roads, manholes or anything like that on the road?
No.
It doesn't, we don't tie into that?
No, there's actually an existing storm line that goes back there that this actually all taps into. It's just a little, like I said, it's about 60 feet up Campbellgate where we tie into that.
Okay. Because again, when I first seen it, there's, picture one and picture two. And the picture one was a big square, I'm thinking, and it took up that, mostly we put in a drainage field under the parking lot.
Well, our drain field's under the grass area out there in that southwest corner.
So when the new parking lot's done, that southwest corner will not be a parking lot anymore. That section will be the drainage
But again,
area.
that's where we put the drainage field.
That's where it
right
is now, yes.
Because right now,
Yes.
there was a bunch of little
Yes.
igloos out there and go, what the heck are those? That was for the drainage system.
That's it.
That's kind of crazy, which is standard for new builds today, is you keep all of your own water.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which I'm all for. But when the road commission goes, hey, we're gonna tie into your system and not give you anything because
Yeah.
you're gonna take our water and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, no, they're not
Don't-
tying into our system. This is their system that we actually are currently, Stepanski currently uses that system for that parking lot.
Well, not really, because again, we just put in one. My picture was the big section, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a 10-foot wide right along the front edge, 10-foot wide,
The
50 or
Campbellgate
60
side,
feet long
yeah.
on the Campbellgate side going in.
Yeah.
Okay. It's different from what I had understood it is.
Yeah.
And again, I just didn't like the way of, well, we have to do this, otherwise they won't give us our occupancy. When I went there in elementary school, it was a back, big field before we had water and sewer in the township, and that all flooded. And it was really cool in the fall, winter, water would drain in there, but then the water would drain away, and it just left the big ice. So you go walking through the ice, and you fall down a foot, and then you get in the water. Good times in elementary school, I loved it. Teachers hated it. But it just, again, so it's always been an issue. We have high spots and low spots, but it's not what I originally thought of a big piece. It's a smaller piece.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know, I think with, we've done phone companies before, AT&T, where they wanted to put something out in front of the building that we own, and we've gotten money from them. So again, this year, they're talking $1 to, I would just wonder if we could get more, because they need it, they want it, we have it.
Well, it's
Necessarily.
their system that's there now, we're modifying it for our new
But
project.
it's gonna be going into ours of the back retention pond back in the back part of Campbellgate.
But that detention pond isn't the school district's, it's Waterford Township's detention pond.
Well, it's part of that development back there.
Yes.
So it's not the road commission. Road commission
No, it's not.
goes down,
That's
in the
right.
waters and it's, flooded down to Detroit or wherever. And you're gonna drinking water. So, okay. And I understand it better from my big picture. And I asked a couple questions because I didn't understand. I'm thinking, I'm not giving away a whole, what I thought was the parking lot, which is all this underground stuff, thinking, this is silly.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them rights to my corner of my property. A little strip, I'm not as concerned with, but you're always paying for right-of-ways and things. I want money too. Frugal part. Money.
I think it's a one-way street.
Member Sutherland, please.
I think you answered my question. The easement is on this southwest corner, and it's what's in the dotted lines, and that's the portion that we are giving up. So we can never put a parking lot here. We can never do anything with that piece of property because it's now not ours, correct?
Just a permanent structure. You can put something
It's-
over the top of it if you wish, but you can't build a permanent structure.
Yeah, we had sent an updated one, I think Megan had sent one where they actually colored in the actual section so that you could see it. And what Jeremy Moats, our attorney from Clark Hill, says is an easement is technically a right to use the property. It does not give them ownership of it. So my guess would be if we decide to do completely something different with it, we still have that ability to do that because it's just a right to use it. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't have to look at where the water would go at that point, but it's always possible that there would be something else that could be done.
But we're giving up our right to use it as we see fit without going through the whole process of removing the easement and so forth. I think we need to do it.
Correct.
It's obviously way over my pay scale, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I just want to point out too, Sandy, that our attorney had looked at what the road commission gave us, the contract, and reworked it. So we had somebody who was very clearly looking out for our interests in that.
Yes, I didn't even bother sending you the original one because he made so many really good changes about like a non-permanent easement. You can't use it, let anybody use it without our permission, those kind of things, that we would never sign the original one they gave us.
Dan, Sandy, really quick on the Exhibit B The legal description of the drainage easement, the westerly 10 feet of the southerly 70 feet of the
Okay.
above described parcel.
We knew it was 60 to 70.
Sorry, I got my number up.
But above, the legal description on the property, it says accepting 60 feet. So do we just need, is that just a?
We'll confirm that.
We're only giving them 60.
No, we'll confirm that with Tom Sobel, who is our civil engineer, and make sure it's whether, because it came through as 60 to 70, so we just said 60, but we'll confirm that because we wanted to be
You'll actually be
exact.
able to see it once it's built, because there'll be a manhole at the north end of the easement, and that's where it transitions back to the Campbellgate Street.
A 60-foot,
Manhole? No.
No, the manhole's 24 inches in diameter.
right, but how will we be able to see what the?
You'll be able to see the manhole. And that's where it ends.
Portion.
Member Donahue, please.
So our attorneys have reworked the wording of the contract. And the road commission, if we go through and approve this and Scott signs it, they're okay with how we've reworded it.
So part of the reason we pulled the action is their lawyer's out of town this week and won't be able to review it till next week, even though we did give it to them in time. So we may have some adjustments, but Jeremy is a very good proponent for the district, and anything that comes through, he will make sure that it favors the district. And we'll give you a copy if there's any changes, so that you'll have that well before the meeting.
Alex, any other comments or questions here? So we'll double check once the legal description, just make sure that everything is matched up. Anything else? Okay, excellent. Thank you. Let's move on now to our last information item this evening, our office furniture over at Stepanski.
Thank you very much. So as we start getting close to opening, one of the last things we're looking at is furniture for the professional staff that are in the building. Because of the design of Stepanski's a little bit different than our normal classrooms, the teachers' desks are not in the classroom, they're actually in a dedicated space next to the classroom. So we are buying desks that fit into that space appropriately. We have 27 classroom offices. We also have 15 professional offices, and some of those are the main office, the principal, secretary, those kind of areas. So we are looking at putting in desks in there, and each desk would then have two of what they call mobile pedestals, we call like little rolling file cabinets. So each would have two. And then we have two conference rooms, one bigger, one smaller. And then we have our Welcome Center and our Parent Resource Center. Each of them have furniture that goes into it, but we have gone over the list. We are minimizing. So for example, classrooms, the teachers get an L-shaped desk, they get the two file cabinets to go under it, they get a task chair, and then they get a mobile cart for the classroom that the desktop that is used for the smartboard goes on. So this is what we're making sure that we are getting the minimum that we need to function as well, and we did that all the way through. So we had the initial list of recommendations. We went through that list with Andrea. She took it to her staff. We're still tweaking it, but basically what we're trying to do is get furniture that would be consistent, would look modern, and we're expecting it to last 20 years. So that we'd be definitely getting our money out of this rather than reusing furniture. And since some of these professional offices don't even exist in the current building, we would be having to get new furniture for them as well, because many times they didn't have an office or they had to share an office. Now they're getting their own offices. So we are not getting a lot of like what normally comes in everyone. It's like, oh, you get a desk, you get two chairs for people who visit, then you get a table with chairs. No, we are really just getting down to the basics of what we want. As example, there is a staff lounge, and we are just reusing furniture we have for that staff lounge. There's a nursing area. We already have adequate furniture for that, so we're not getting new furniture for that. And then the childcare area, bringing the furniture that we already have from the existing building. So we are being very cautious with how we're doing this, because obviously this is a cost, and we want to make sure it's reasonable.
Colleagues, comments, questions? Member Torres, please.
We don't have to put out a bid for this?
So what it is, it's a cooperative bid, so we do not have to bid it out, but we do need board approval because it is over the board limit. So most of the furniture companies will be participating in one or more cooperatively bid, so that we can just go ahead and use the pricing that's already out there rather than having to do our own.
Okay, so hold on. So we don't have to bid, you said cooperative bid.
Correct. So basically, state law allows us to use cooperative bids if they follow the state law. And most state laws do require a sealed bid, 2 weeks out, those kind of things. So they follow all our criteria so that we can use their bid to have the pricing for ours rather than us going through a bid when basically it saves us time. And in many cases, the pricing is not much different. There are times when we do recommend going locally, but this is not something where we would have a local source where we could go to and get lower pricing.
So does that allow for us, because when I think of a bid, right, I want to make sure I'm good quality product for, a fair price.
Correct. And that's the nice thing about the furniture, because they know that we could go out and just get one office of furniture. And then when we want to get another, we want it to match. We want the same product and everything. So they will offer different product types. They will offer different styles, and they're all cooperatively bid. So the prices are all set, and we just choose what we want from, it's like a menu.
And so why did we decide to do cooperative bid over a normal?
It saves time. It saves us from having to go through the process of basically doing a lot of work ahead of time. What do we want? What do we want it to look like? What do we want to offer? Going through the process of then evaluating all of it and then coming up with it. This is where we can just cut that last part off. We can we used MBS, who works with French and Associates, to help us try to figure out the best options for what we needed, such as the teacher desk, the L shape, the kind of desks that we would use in the professional offices, things like that. And then they can offer us, here, you can get this style from these different vendors, you can make it look like this. So it gives us a lot of flexibility without us having to do all of that work.
And is that because it's furniture, or is it because?
Yeah, so furniture's tricky, because if you put it out to bid, now you're at risk of getting low-quality products, right? You can't write a specification for an office chair that's going to cover all the different pieces and all the makeup of an office chair. So a company like NBS we've worked with, we've vetted them, we know that they're going to provide quality products. The state of Michigan has vetted their pricing to make sure that you're getting fair and reasonable pricing on those products. So it's kind of a twofold thing. Furniture is, if you put it out to bid, it's a very risky and very difficult endeavor to evaluate those bids and make sure that you're getting prices that are of equal products. It's a chair. Okay, well, what kind of chair? And so, like I said, we've vetted NBS by just our experience of working with them as a quality vendor, and the state of Michigan has vetted them for their pricing. So, does that make sense?
So it sounds like, to Member Torres' point, it gives a sort of minimum threshold of quality with sort of certain price monitors.
Yeah.
And we're given a menu, in essence.
Yeah, and you see this in, like I said, products that are specific, like furniture, and you'll see it with your playground equipment. Again, a slide isn't a slide. A slide, slides are different. So it's those types of products where we recommend this process as opposed to that typical bid process that you would go through.
Thank you.
Patricia? And in the bid process, because we're going to get 40 of them, if you buy one, it's this price. Is there a discount when you buy multiples?
There is. Yeah, they'll build that into their price.
It's built in, because it just makes sense if they're going to deliver one, it's this much. But I'm bringing you 40 of them, free shipping, or there are discounts or are incentives.
Yeah.
We get something for buying more.
Yeah.
Yes.
It isn't just all the same price. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 50.
Right.
Okay, there are incentives. Thank you.
Member Sutherland, please.
So in the information item here, it indicates that the list of furniture has been streamlined to include necessary desks, conference tables, a few bookcases and public seating, and task chairs. And then in addition to that, you talked about rolling file cabinets.
That's part of the desk. The file cabinets, they're considered part of the desk when you're looking at it because they actually support the desk.
Okay.
They're movable, which we have it set so they can move it around, but basically it helps support the desk. So there might be times when you need to take off the side piece and that pedestal under it basically supports it. But the pedestal is functional, so it's helpful as well.
So I'm assuming we already have a complete spreadsheet or list of everything that we want and how many we want of everything. So given that it's a fixed price, do we then know the price of this information item?
Yes, but we're still tweaking it, and because the initial price, we knew they were bringing us more than we needed because we wanted to go through that. Because there's some areas where, like the Welcome Center, we weren't really sure, so we're like, give us some examples of what you would recommend for that. And then we looked at it, we're like, okay, we just need this, but we don't like this, we want to do that. So we're tweaking that. So I anticipate after the holidays, I'll be able to send you the final list with all the pricing. So you can get what we got was, it had pictures of all the items, and some of this is stuff that we decided not to use, so they will fine tune it, so you'll actually be able to see what we're actually using and what it'll look like in the space. So yes, we still had some decisions to make. We knew that's why we went through that first process and how we wanted the furniture to look and whether it was a fixed table or a table with casters or things like that. So we knew that was part of that first process. So we do have that first blush, but we want to finish going through the entire thing, and Andrea's been working with her staff to do that. So I expect by the time the holidays are over, we'll have that final list, and we'll share it with everybody.
And I think our cow structure works great for most things. I think you're at a big disadvantage, and we're at a disadvantage because information items are now vague. We don't really have all the information because you don't have all the information, but we recognize it's going to be a month before we vote on it.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard because the information item really isn't as informational as what we really need to be able to ask intelligent questions beforehand and so on and so forth. So I'm wondering if we can, again, I hate to ask for it, but if we could get more detail so that we can ask some questions prior to, really the first time we see it in a detailed format is when we're voting on it. And dollars and cents, that's when we get our agenda, is when we get our meeting packet, typically. So again, I understand why it worked out that way, but it does make it hard for these really big items that we're voting on, because we don't have a chance to digest it, to understand, to ask the questions about the numbers well in advance and make sure that we're recognizing what we're spending money on. So I think that's probably why I'm thinking about why there's a little bit of, it's hard for you, it's hard for us. And just wondering if once you have that and it's tweaked, if we could see it so that we can ask the questions prior to taking action, that'd be great.
It's just one quick counterpoint. I would say that our structure has actually given us more touch points around some of these items, because we do have this kind of, where it's brought to us. Assistant Superintendent Elka will send it to us in the interim, and we have an opportunity then to see it, and then we see it again when we do take action on it. So just as a quick counterpoint, I think our structure has been working well, because it does actually include one more touchstone along the process.
But not always cost.
We never have a dollars and cents,
surprise.
and that's where the surprise always comes in, yeah.
Okay, colleagues, other questions here about the furniture? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, thank you, Carla. Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Elka. Okay. Colleagues, we're now moving on to new business, and we're going to turn it over to Acting Secretary Donahue, please.
Superintendent's recommendation 40-23-24, reinstatement of student F-23-24. In keeping with Michigan law, a committee consisting of school board members, a school administrator, teacher, and a parent of a pupil in the district reviewed a petition for the reinstatement of student F-23-24, who was previously expelled by the Waterford School District. After reviewing all facts and information in the matter and considering applicable state law, it is recommended that the Board of Education reinstate student F-23-24 with conditions. I so move.
Support.
Thank you, colleagues. The motion has been moved and supported. Any comments or questions, please? Member Sutherland.
Just want to thank members Donahue and Torres for representing the board in this reinstatement committee. It is very much appreciated. Both of you, thank you.
Colleagues, any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion carries 6-0. We're now going to turn it over to Treasurer Sutherland for consideration of certain purchases, please.
Thank you. Superintendent's recommendation 41-23-24, generator bid. It is recommended that the board approve the award of general contracting to LMS Construction LLC in the amount of $129,000. Mechanical to Contrast Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $154,000. And electrical to Livingston Power Company in the amount of $152,860 for a total amount of $435,860 for the generator bid for Covert. Funds for this project are included in the 2020 bond, and I so move.
Support.
Thank you. The motion has been moved and supported. Colleagues, comments or questions? Member Pachushak.
Have we used any of these contractors before, the electrical or?
So the electrical we have used, they worked, I know it's not most recently, but I know on the Schoolcraft upgrades that we did, and LMS.
Yes, that's correct. Livingston has worked in the school district several times and other school districts with Barton Mallow. LMS, this contractor is new to school district work. They have worked with Barton Mallow, but not in the school districts. They've also come recommended by, calling their references, different construction companies. And they were very thorough with their scope, and they understood everything well, so we're comfortable with using LMS. Contrast, they have also worked in the district. They're currently at Stepanski, and they've worked in Waterford, Utica, other school districts also. They're very experienced.
Just because the mechanical, they were very close, but the general contracting, more than $100,000 off. Well, I mean, not
Right.
quite double, but it's a big number.
It is a big.
And I like the lower one, but if they can't do something, if they fail, we spent this money plus what it's going to take to fix it. But you feel comfortable in using them.
Yes, we did do a post bid. It was very thorough, and like I said, they knew their job. They knew what the scope of work was. They did not exclude anything. The other contractor was high, but they are generally higher bidders.
So we don't want to do it, but if they get it, hey.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions, colleagues? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion carries 6-0. Treasurer Sutherland.
Thank you. Superintendent's recommendation 42-23-24, phone headsets. It is recommended that the Board of Education award the phone headsets T4 to New Era Technology with the Zulti's phone headsets with wall mount brackets for a total of $231,824.35. It is further recommended that the board approve the alternate for a paging system within the Transportation Department to New Era Technology for a total of $4,886.73. The total amount of the build and alternate is $236,711.08. The funding source is the 2020 bond, and I so move.
Support.
Thank you, colleagues. Motion has been moved and supported. Comments or questions do we have, please? Member Pachushak.
The same.
I can speak to that.
Thank
This
you.
is actually the current company that we've utilized for the last 12 years, and we've been very happy with. So we were very happy to see them come in with the bid.
But they don't have the same phones that we had 12 years ago.
They do not. Well,
Slackers.
yes and no. Zulti's is the current system that we are using.
Okay.
And that we've been very happy and have survived 12 years. So it is the same manufacturer, it's just an upgrade to that.
Are they
So
like heavy handsets? Can they pump somebody in the head?
I would not recommend that.
I'm not recommending it. I'm not saying to be right. I'm just wondering if we can. Megan needs some help sometimes. She can teach, That's all.
Other comments or questions, colleagues? Okay, very good. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you, colleagues. Motion carries 6-0. Treasurer Sutherland, Elementary Playground Improvements, Phase 1.
Thank you. Superintendent's recommendation 43-23-24. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of playground equipment from Game Time through the Omnia Cooperative in the amount of $593,500. It is also recommended that the board approve the award of the equipment installation to Michigan Recreational Construction in the amount of $462,700 and the site work to Jacqueline Contracting LLC in the amount of $665,000. It is further recommended that the board approve the award of all 3 alternates to Jacqueline Contracting LLC in the amount of $227,000. This alternative adds walking paths from the building and around the play area per the design. Funds for these projects are in the 2020 bond. The work will be in the summer of 2024. Playground upgrades were included as part of the 2020 bond approved by voters on August 4th, 2020, and I so move.
Support.
Thank you, colleagues. Motion has been moved and supported. Comments or questions, please? Member Torres, please.
The schools that were putting the playground equipment in, were they the ones that needed it? I know some schools do have updated playground, like my daughter's at Cooley, and they have pretty up-to-date playground equipment.
So I will say, I put Dan Jerome on the hotspot, and I asked him, since he's the one who made the recommendation for 2 summers, I said, can you tell me which ones we'll put in first? That way I can't be accused of any kind of favoritism. So Dan recommended these 4 as the first ones to be done. And I think from a standpoint of Grayson and Donaldson, I think they needed new equipment. They needed additional equipment especially. So those were good choices.
Okay, so it's like age of equipment kind
Yeah,
of thing.
so-
I know with the whole Stepanski thing, what I learned was the safety,
Correct.
You can't reuse equipment. It's a
Correct.
safety thing. But I will note that the playground equipment is a huge piece. Just having a 4th grader, I mean, I hear about recess all the time. And it really is something that the kids, just seriously, it is something they look forward to in their day. And they spend a lot of time on this equipment, and they have fun on it when we go to the school events, and after school and all that kind of stuff. The kids want to go on the playground. So I think it's a good thing that we got up to date and the changes. And safety is obviously a huge consideration. So, but yeah, that answers. And so there'll be another, correct? Will there be another wave?
Correct.
Okay.
We'll have one more summer, and we'll do the other schools at that time.
Thank you.
Torres? Any other comments or questions, colleagues? Member Sutherland, please.
Well, relative to the installation, it looks like we had 2 bidders, and we went with the higher bidder.
Yes, the lower bidder did not have a complete bid. Did you want to talk to that?
Yes, unfortunately, they did omit the engineered wood fibers from their bid, so they withdrew their bid.
Oh,
They could not include that in their base bid.
And we only had 1 bidder for the contractor?
That's correct. We had several contractors that were interested in bidding and planning on bidding, but due to the amount of bids and not enough, we did even extend the bid to give contractors more time, but the contractors I spoke to, they just said they did not have the time to submit a bid, so.
And then, I'm not sure if I'm not digesting this, so sorry, I apologize. Did we have multiple bidders for so we had 1 bidder for the equipment and 1 bidder for the site work. Did we have multiple bidders for the installation?
So we had 1 bidder for the playground, 2 bidders for the playground equipment, but 1 withdrew their bid, and then we
Right.
had 1 for the site work. And that's the bid that we are recommending. They have worked on playgrounds for over 15 years. First time in school district, but they have worked for the city of Birmingham, and they've done work in Detroit for Menards. They come highly recommended also.
Which one is this relative to?
This is for Jacqueline Contracting.
Okay. Because that was also just 1 bid, correct?
That was 1 bid, yes.
And That makes me very uncomfortable. Just as I understand that you did try to open the bid up and that we did have one, but all three of these $500,000 bids are one bidder. So I don't know.
Well, the first bid
How do we know
is
it's
from a
competitive?
cooperative. I mean, the equipment is coming from a cooperative, and there's usually only a couple of manufacturers for a lot of the equipment we're looking at, so.
That's the one that withdrew a bid, correct? The equipment.
No, the installation of the equipment, Michigan Recreation, we had two
Oh,
bidders
that's
for
right.
that, and the one forgot to put in the fibers.
Smaller.
And we always go back to them and say, if you want to honor your current bid and include that item, they did not. So we went with the next lowest bidder.
But it was also the only other bidder, right?
Correct, we only had two bidders, correct.
Okay. So equipment, I understand, that's, but the installation, the site work, those, the 462,000 and the 665, do you, as the professionals in this area, have any other current bids at other projects that would say that these are reasonable prices for, these are, I'm not talking about equipment that's cataloged and we you know, that's a cooperative, but
Right.
for the installation and for the site work, are these competitive?
Yeah, the only thing I could base this off of is the estimate that we received, which is very comparable. I could get those numbers for you if you'd like to compare. Let me see, actually, I might have it here. But that's the only, because this type of work, we do have contractors, other projects that have playground, but the same exact type of playground, no, like with all the site work and the drainage and the type of playground equipment, some is being relocated, some's new. So it's just a different project than what is typical.
I know,
There's some
honestly, I've
repairs
never
being
seen
made.
us spend so much money without having a competitive bid. To know that we're at least in the ballpark, you know, that that's the price that the market is bearing right now, kind of a thing, and I'm concerned about that. And nobody else wanted to bid?
Well, like I said, we did have contractors that we even reached out. I mean, they did say they were going to bid, but after we talked to them, they said there just wasn't, they couldn't bid. Yeah. And plus, we were also competing with other projects that there's a lot of projects out to bid. So it's just, this time frame, it's very competitive to put projects out.
Okay. And the last recommendation that we reviewed has this term alternate. I'm not familiar with that. So what are we using that term to mean?
So usually when we have a base bid, they know that we will usually award the base bid. If we have alternates, basically what we're saying is we want to get pricing for it, but we may not bid it, and many times that's because of a budget item. We want to see how much it's going to cost, and then based on whether we have the funds available, we will go ahead and award it. So they know that that may not be actually awarded at all, and that's just a standard thing. When we do something as an alternate, we're just saying, we aren't sure we are going to do this, but we need pricing on it to make that decision. If it comes in where we would like it to be, then we will do it. If it's too high, we just do not do it.
I see. And that was another one that, it was only the Jacqueline Contracting that bid on both the alternate and the site work.
Right.
So we have $900,000 going to a supplier with no other bids to say that those are fair prices.
Well, Bart Mallow always does estimates based on the kind of work we're doing and how we bid it. And those estimates are taken off of market value, and we use them as a yardstick when the bids actually come in, so that if it's unusually high or unusually low, then we start having questions about what we might have missed, what they added, things like that. So that is a very crucial part of all of our projects, is to get an estimate from Bart Mallow, and their estimators are very careful about doing a estimate based on current market and what an actual bidder would actually do, and they like to do it as what they call the second lowest bidder, not necessarily the lowest bidder, because, just like we saw in the other bid, there can be bidders that will bid higher, not necessarily because it's really their cost, but because they're like, okay, if you award it,
really
I'll do
want
it, and I get I get extra profit for it. So we do use it. You do not have to have multiple bids, but like you said, we always try to make sure that when we're looking at a bid, because let's say these came in and they were just wildly above what our estimate is, we would step back. We did that with the project that we had at the warehouse for the salt shed. It came in higher than our estimates, we stepped back because we cannot, it's out of our budget, number one. But number two is, it's just not something that we can do at this point. So we will revamp the project, we'll look at it, we'll see where the price really came in to see was the most expensive thing is something we need to do. So when we saw these were hitting where we were expecting, then it makes us feel a little bit better that the bidders are bidding what we actually put in the bid and what we're expecting to get for the project.
That is our first step when we do open the bids, is looking at the estimate and making sure, before we move forward with post-bidding, that it is in line with that, because like Sandy said, it pulls up a flag for us. It is not.
Thank you.
Does this include the nasty, dirty wood bark instead of pea gravel then?
Yes, it does.
I like pea gravel better.
What other comments or questions?
I'm not going to be supportive. It's not that I don't know that we need playground equipment. Of course, I want playground equipment. I just don't personally feel comfortable spending $900,000 on that bid and additional. I mean, these are significant expenses. And I just would need some level of comfort that this is market price.
Is there, Assistant Superintendent Elka, I see the work is slated to begin in summer 2024. What are our timelines looking like?
I can't speak to the contractors. I know it's usually the equipment that can be the issue with the lead time. But again, the contractors are filling up their summer work. So it doesn't mean we're not going to get it. It doesn't mean we can't do it. It just means that could create complications for our schedule.
What were the estimates? Were they pretty spot on, or?
I just know that I don't want to give a number because I don't have it in front of me, but I could definitely share it with you.
It was in the ballpark though, right? I mean,
Yes, it was. And actually it included the playground equipment and everything, the install and the site work.
Yeah, the equipment did come in lower than our initial estimates that we did maybe about a year ago. So.
And I am comfortable with the equipment piece, just so you know, because I recognize the cooperative bid. It's the installation, the site work, and the alternate. Those three are, each one of them didn't have a competitor, so it's a tough place to be.
Mm-hmm.
What would be our options if we were to go back and would we put it back out for bid, or, and then that would change the whole timeline, right?
It would change the timeline. Well, I just know from Stepanski, it took, I think it was up to 5 months to get the equipment. So if we don't get it awarded now, it would just probably most likely, because we can only install in the summer. Right. So it would just get pushed to 2025. And then the next one, 2026. That's all that would.
There is
would happen.
We could.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could pull out and approve the equipment if that's the longest lead item, if that would be. And I'm speaking just for me as a board member, and I recognize I'm only one board member, so.
I do have one question. I know that in being in the industry, it's kind of hard if you don't have people that are willing to do the bids. I mean, is that kind of where you're at? You have a lot of, you're putting it out there, but unfortunately, we don't have companies submitting bids. Mm-hmm. So if you were to rebid it and that same thing happens, which most likely it will, because a lot of companies right now, short on labor force, already have their schedules filled, what would be the solution to that? Because we can't force companies to do the bids. I mean, we have the ones that are here, but is a likelihood that we would be in the same boat we are in now because you've tried to get other companies to bid and they're just unwilling to do so due to their current workload?
Right. It is going to get more difficult because now we're also, up against the schedules. Everybody's booking up their schedules now too. So it's, that's another factor that, and if we were to put it out to bid, these numbers are now, it would be hard. We'd have to break it down a little bit differently because they know what this bid number is. So for it to be competitive, we would have to figure out a different way to get a little bit more creative with maybe getting 2 different contractors, but with this type of work, that would be difficult.
And I would assume if it's like the bids that we do, that those bid prices are only good for a very short amount of time. So it's likely that if we lose this window, we could be increasing our costs versus decreasing our costs, correct?
It can go either way.
Okay.
I don't want to say for sure that it would be higher, but there's no guarantees that it will go lower. But sometimes, like you said, if it's just a labor thing, if it's a product or material thing, that can change the bid as well.
Okay. I do know it's something that our families, since 2020, and that bond went through, it's one of the topics. People want that playground equipment. I do have a concern that if we put this off, that we are potentially inciting our community, because now if we're saying 25, 26, this was voted in 2020. I don't know if there's a way we can try and reconcile this quicker than not.
Well, I'll be honest, this was part of the 3rd series, and we did move it up to the 2nd series. So it really was not anticipated to be done until near the end of the bond.
Okay.
We moved it up because we were seeing a lot of equipment that needed to be removed because it was just failing. So we wanted to move it up further into the series than it had been.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just, clarification, so you guys, you did the bid, followed the bid process, you extended the bid because we didn't get enough bidders, and then it does fall within the range of estimate. All right, thank you.
Patricia, please. I agree with Joan that, we only have 1 bidder, but sometimes that happens. If we're gonna do something, I don't like spending this much money. Let the little tykes run around in the little cement tubes like I did. They, throw pea gravel at each other, the good old days. But the farther I put it off, there are other things that can happen. And again, like you mentioned, they have the bid so they can see, hey, this is what we can get. That doesn't mean they're gonna go lower. They can bump it up. Does it bump it off a year? That, again, doesn't concern me as much. But it's here, it's now, I support it, so, but I don't like it. I don't like the process, but I don't like, $4 million parking lots either, but we have one of those, so. Here's how it goes.
May I ask how many people, do this kind of work? How many did we go out to because it's $1.4 million if we subtract off the equipment for installation site work. Is it really a limited skill set that we only have a couple vendors, and let's just say two chose not to bid, and so we only got the 1 bid?
Yeah, so for playground equipment installed, that is definitely, very limited contractors for that.
Okay.
So, and it's unfortunate, the other contractor, this is the 2nd time that they've tried to bid, but the bid process is so new to them that, it was just above them right now, but they're going to keep trying. So yes, definitely with that. With the site work, I think what we're really up against, like I said, is there's just so many jobs out there right now. I know Cordes Brothers was going to bid also, but they've, in hindsight, it may be better because they already have a lot of jobs right now. They have Stepanski and Mott. So it's just the timing. Everybody's booked up at this point.
And I know we don't know what it would look like if we bid another year from now. Nobody
No.
can. Correct. None of us have a crystal ball. And I want our kids to have great equipment. Please know that. It's a lot of money to spend, taxpayer dollars, without knowing for sure that we're in the ballpark.
I agree with Member Patricia. It'd be wonderful to have some additional bids, but it's just not in the framework right now to have those. As you've explained, if my understanding is correct, that's within the estimates that were given by Barton Mallow in the first place with it. So based upon that, with trying to get this and the timelines that are involved with it, personally, there's a lot of money to spend, but I do feel comfortable moving ahead and voting for it in the January 18th meeting.
Tonight.
No.
Tonight, I feel good voting for it tonight. Absolutely, yes, sorry.
That would be
Well, I think Member Donovan,
Lost a month.
well, I think Member Donovan, he does raise a good question. What would this be like if we did vote it on January 18th? If we were able to open up bids for the site work and installation, how long does that take? I mean, I'm not certainly not the expert, for 1 month delay to result in a year, a 1 month delay in the vote resulting in a year delay of the project. What does that look like?
So, okay, I guess here's one thing, what the lead time, the long lead time is the equipment.
Right.
So that's what we need to order now for summer install. But the one thing we're gonna be up against is there gonna be contractors that will be bidding, that's what's gonna be the gamble. Will these same contractors bid, or other contractors that we had to push to bid, that didn't bid, are they going to then bid? So we may not.
Yeah.
They can see the numbers.
Yeah, they've seen the numbers, yeah.
See that, so we've already extended it and.
And we would probably not want to just buy the equipment and hold on to it. We actually put off buying the equipment until we had the installation bid ready and out, because we want them together. Because we don't have a place to keep it, and then holding it for a year could be.
Shed at the bus garage.
No, that makes sense, I understand.
And would we be at risk potentially if we did this, that this company who did bid it could say, you know what, you're pushing this off, we need to schedule our summer projects?
Correct.
Could we potentially lose them and then not have anyone to do the installation? Is that a possibility if we push it off?
Michigan Recreation, yes.
Okay.
Because they are the ones doing Stepanski right now, and they've already told us that their summer is booked up.
Okay.
And they're probably thinking that they have this work in place. I'm not really sure what else they have. They've been in business 25 years, so they do work everywhere.
Right.
So, yes. And I do have to say, they're doing a great job at Stepanski. They're going to be done with all the equipment that's on hand within the next couple weeks. So they're very professional. It's been a pleasure working with them so far.
It's looking nice.
Yeah, They're doing a great job. They're very hard workers. They work in the rain and they're getting the work done.
Any other comments or questions, colleagues? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 5-1. Treasurer Sutherland, please.
Thank you. Superintendent's recommendation 44-23-24. I apologize, I'm not quite there yet. Bear with me. There we go. Teacher devices. The Waterford School District is planning on updating our teacher devices to replace Surface Ghosts, which were purchased in 2019, and I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, and upgrade to a laptop device with a case for our teachers. These devices are utilized for instructional purposes within and outside of the classroom. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 450 devices under the REMC bid contract with Presidio. The total cost would be $321,075. The funding is the 2020 bond, and I so move.
Support.
Thank you, colleagues. Motion has been moved and supported. Comments or questions, please?
I just like that it's called the gumdrop case. Just wanted to say that. I feel like we should get them gumdrop vinyl stickers to put on all of them. Just a little thought.
These are the ones that the teachers had, they've looked at different things. These are the ones they wanted, that's what you talked about at the last meeting.
The one that we brought forward to show you at the last.
Yep, and they like it, so we aren't just saying, these are cheaper, you're gonna take these.
No.
So,
But remember, we did say by bringing it up now, we are saving a lot of money.
Yes,
So
yes.
it is a reasonable cost.
I support it.
Any other comments or questions, colleagues? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, colleagues, President's recommendation. I will now move to President's recommendation 45-23-24 relative to the superintendent evaluation rating. Following an extensive year-long process and using the approved MASB evaluation tool, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the 2023 superintendent evaluation rating as effective for Superintendent Lindberg, and I so move.
Support.
Thank you, colleagues. The motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions, please? Member Pachushak.
Scott, I think you're doing a wonderful job, but there's always room for improvement. So I'll be, again, next year's the new year. So, thank you.
Other comments and questions, please?
Comment, just want the public to know that we did take this very seriously, as we always do as school board members. I think every member on here really put a lot of time and thought into going through the process of the evaluation. We spent a lot of time discussing and going back and forth. So it was something we didn't take lightly. So I just want everybody to know that there's a lot of time and effort that goes into this. And this is, as a school board trustee, one of the most, if not the most important thing that you do.
And just to extend off of Mr. Torres' comments, just so everyone knows, this is something that we have to do by law. It's a year-long process. We get together at the beginning of the year. We take a look at the evaluation itself and all the criteria that exist within it. We have a talk about it. We also look to indicators for success to say, hey, in this category, we're really looking for this. We have quarterly check-ins where we talk about the criteria, the evaluation, where the superintendent brings evidence of progress towards those goals. These are long conversations, as Member Torres remarked, and then it all adds up to a end-of-the-year meeting in November, December, where we have a conversation about superintendent's progress towards goals, and we give him some feedback. And now this is the fruit of our labor and our conversations here. Just so everyone knows, and Member Torres made clear, this is a year-long process and a collaborative one from the board to the superintendent. And again, thanks to our board colleagues too. We always have great conversations back there. So, colleagues, any other comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 5-1. All right, colleagues, we're now on to public comments on non-action items. I do not have any green cards in front of me. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board this evening? Ms. Krupa, welcome.
I don't really need a microphone.
If you would, though, because just it gets to the folks who are listening to the video. Yep.
Our vast audience.
As Ms. Krupa makes her way up there, we'll read our boilerplate here. So please be reminded, please, that comments are limited to 3 minutes in duration. Members of the public are invited to share comments. However, this is not intended to be a time for questions and answers. Lastly, please, participants may speak only once on the same topic and are, of course, asked to avoid statements that are personally directed, abusive, or obscene. Ms. Krupa.
We're still waiting for the announcement of the Van Sant Road agreement that we have with the superintendent. So everybody in Waterford knows what's going on, and we quit getting all the hateful drivers coming through and getting mad because the gate is closed. If everybody knows what the rules are for the gates and the guidelines for the gates, we won't have as big a problem as we're still having.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Ms. Krupa. Colleagues, moving on now to our Board of Education reports. Who has a report? Member Patricia, please.
I'd like to thank John Paul for attending the Pontiac Waterford Parade on Saturday. We had the two students that had received their scholarship and part of they were required to be there. John Paul was able to be there and get a photo op and all the other things. And I was out of town, but thank you very much for doing that. Shout out to Mott football. They did lose their game, but had gone over there that day before with Joan and they had the drum line come down the hallway. It's kind of like the little jazz band today. It's impressive. Again, the drums beating, and it's vibrating off the walls. It chills just from when it was. That was spectacular. I wanted to sit there, just watch it go round and round. That was so much fun. The football game, it was pretty good. For me, it isn't about winning and losing per se. Winning is a lot more fun. I enjoy that part more, but it's the students developing, becoming good citizens. And an example of that was, I don't know the exact play, but my player knocked down the opposing player because that's what you're supposed to do. Back when I was a kid, again, I didn't play sports, but the coaches didn't like you helping up another player because you're extending your energy to help them up, let them get up and, you know, use all their own energy. But the Mott players were helping up the opposing players. My son's a coach, and I asked him, like, why? That's wrong, isn't it? He goes, oh, no. You help them up so you can knock them down again. So it's, but again, I like seeing that out of our Mott players. That to me represents who we are. The winning and losing, winning is more fun, but seeing them develop as, again, young men, young women, because they both play football. It was a lot of fun. And I had a couple other things, but I can't remember what they are, so that's all I wrote down. Merry Christmas.
Member Wagner, please.
I know that we had our jazz band quartet tonight, and we talked about the Kettering Collage, which is coming up next week, but I would be remiss if we didn't mention that Waterford Mott also has their holiday concert. It will be Wednesday the 20th and Thursday the 21st. Tickets will be available. We also have some other fabulous concerts coming up with our choir at both the middle schools, our orchestras, and our bands. So check the district website. I know all the concert dates are there. And we also have, tonight was the opening of the art show, and sadly I missed it at Oakland Schools, but we do have quite a few of our students who have work there. My daughter is one of them. So I highly recommend, if you have a chance, swing over to Oakland Schools. There's some beautiful artwork that our students have done being displayed over there. So if you feel the need to go over there, it's on Pine Lake Road, and they, I believe, are open till 5 through the week, 8 to 5. And that's all.
Thank you, Member Wagner. Member Torres, please.
Just on Rob's note, want to congratulate Mott for making it to the semifinal of the state championship, one game away from Ford Field. You know, they played their hearts out, and one of the things that I take note of that I like so much about sports is that when you lose with grace, and our kids did. You know, they walked off there and heads high, and they were proud of what they did. And I think, you know, there's a lesson to be learned there. You know, they didn't whine, they didn't cry. They lost with grace. But they'll be back next year, and I think that they're going to be even better and learn, you know, and hopefully next time make it to be the state champs. But we're proud of them either way. The holiday extravaganza in Pontiac was able to attend. One cool thing is that there were 4 scholarship recipients, all received $5,000, and 2 were from Waterford, 1 was from Huron Valley, and then 1 was from Pontiac. So Waterford had 2 students in representation, 1 from Mott, 1 from Kettering. That doesn't always happen, so that was pretty cool. So it was the Fran Anderson Make a Difference Scholarship winners. And so it was Dan Taylor from Waterford Mott and Alana Kimmer from Waterford Kettering. So I had an opportunity to talk with them and meet with them. I thought I was actually just going to, brief, and they ended up calling me up on stage because I'm a member of the Waterford School Board, so caught me off guard. So I had to say something real quick. I had about 5 seconds to figure out what I was going to say. So, but very proud of them, good kids, and we were able to stay for the parade and enjoy all of that. And then I was also able to attend the Youth Assistance Luncheon. It's the annual luncheon that they have every December. Recognition of the volunteers all across Oakland County. It's a great event. Sat with all the youth assistants, board members, and the worker that we have here in Waterford. And it's just a very, it's an acknowledgement not of youth assistants per se, but of the volunteers that make youth assistance in each community what it is. And then last night, Member Sutherland and I were able to attend the Oakland County School Board Association forum, and we had a dynamic speaker, and Joan might remember his name, but he's a doctorate, PhD, Ivy League educated, and he is a Waterford Kettering graduate, class of 1970. So I thought that was pretty cool. But he talked about, he just really blew my mind. I felt like I was in college again. Proposal A, the issues with that, how it was supposed to be dynamic when it was brought forth, the funding model that we now have where the money follows the student. Then he talked about the collaborative, how that was a huge piece, the financial collaborative piece, and what effect that had on the legislature. And then he talked about poverty and the effect of education on poverty and socioeconomic issues. And one of the issues that he had found in his studies is that we think of poverty and we think of, low socioeconomic urban areas, but you're seeing just as much of an effect when you look at the data on kids that are living in rural areas as well. It is a lot of the similarities there and the disparities in the educational systems. So it just really gave you a lot to think about. And like I said, he's a professor at Michigan State, actually. I felt like I was in college again, and it was really cool. I felt like I was in a lecture hall. So, but he was very dynamic, and he's a Waterford grad, which was really cool. Thank you.
Torres. Member Donahue, please.
I had the chance, I know that our district leadership team is currently looking at it and debriefing through the guidepost investigation from the Oxford shooting. That final report did come out just about a month ago. For my district, where I'm a principal at, I sat down and we went through it already, 562 pages, and it was pretty intense to read, and it's specifically, the time frame that the shooter came out of the bathroom and then started. But I think that there's going to be things that either the leadership team will bring to us, but more importantly, that we may just have to take a look at and to address with some of the things that they've brought up as that investigation brought up of things that as a Board of Education, we're going to need to make sure that not only we're making sure that Scott's doing, that the leadership team is doing, and conversations on how we will handle safety and security and support safety and security within the district. So I just wanted to say that. Scott, congratulations. You're doing a great job here in the district, and fully support everything that you're doing, so keep it up. Very nice job.
Any other board reports tonight? Member Patricia?
It's basketball season. My favorite sport. It doesn't rain or snow at basketball games. Baseball, football, lacrosse, soccer, miserable. Basketball, perfect weather every time. So, boys and girls, get out there and watch a game.
Member Sutherland, please.
Just really quick, I just wanted to piggyback on Member Torres' comments. It was, the guest speaker was Dr. David Arson, who is Don and Margie Arson's son. And Dr. Arson was an integral author and spearhead of the Michigan School Finance Research Collaborative, which has completely changed for the better the way that our schools, our legislators look at school funding. We are not there yet, as Member Torres indicated, but we are certainly making some strides in that direction, and that is very, very encouraging. Michigan was 50th in the country out of 50 states in terms of growth first per pupil foundation allowance. And in showing some of the data, it's amazing, honestly, that we even survived as a school system. And he did a beautiful job of talking about basically hope, and that we are at least moving in the right direction. If you take I think it was 98, Kristen, I bet you remember the number for the base. I think it was 9850 was what they said, and then you take a 35% multiplier for special education and a multiplier, and then preschool had a different base of 14,000. But even the base, adjusted for inflation, should be $2,000 higher. And then adjusting for rural areas, for English as a second language, for special education, and all of the different things that our children come to us and need extra supports for. So it is encouraging news to some degree, but we also have to remember that we want to keep looking to that model. Even if we rename it, even if you redo the whole study, he said legislators are listening, they're paying attention, and they are contacting him, which he said when he first started, nobody would ever talk to him. So at least people are trying to understand why. That was the first time that we took a look in education at not how much are we getting to educate a child and what are we doing with it, but how much does it cost? What does it actually cost to adequately educate a child and to be equitable in that for all students? So he was brilliant, and I know for our community, Don and Margie were just pillars of our community, and then to see their son really changing the face of education for Michigan and having his roots in Waterford was incredibly powerful. So just wanted to commend him again, and I did thank him, as did John Paul and so many other people, but we owe him a debt of gratitude for shining a light on our very inadequate funding for such a long period of time, and for the work that he did to get us where we're moving in an upward trajectory. So thank you.
And Dr. Arson, again, Michigan State has the best college fund in the entire country. So this is a guy's at the cutting edge of all of these conversations. So it sounds like a really great talk. Thank you for sharing. Colleagues, we have our dinner coming up in a couple weeks. Look forward to seeing everyone there. It's going to be a great time for us to get together. But otherwise, thank you, everybody. Have a great break. Happy holidays. Oh, yeah, I guess.
I only have a couple of things.
All right, fine.
I'm all for it. Let's go.
We're ready to roll tonight.
All right, Scott, go ahead.
First thing, one of the things I'd like to talk briefly, just very briefly about is the safety and security. We are reviewing that. I can tell you we are updating our guidelines. We are meeting with administrators on Monday. We have done that. There's always things, as was mentioned tonight, we can get better on and improve. We take safety and security very important here, every day around the clock. And I have to extend our appreciation to the Waterford Police Department. They have been exceptional partners. We did have an issue last week that went well. We debriefed with that entire team just a couple of days ago. What went well, what we would tweak. But it was done very well with their partnership. Most recently, the Waterford School District Elementary and Staff Spelling Bee was held on November 19th, presented by the SAFE team. And again, we say SAFE, but I want to say that stands for Student and Family Engagement. And we certainly did involve our students and families in the Spelling Bee. Congratulations to our Spelling Bee champions. Daniel Jajoka, fifth grader at Houghton Elementary, correctly spelled the word communication to win this year's district Spelling Bee. Now, the staff spelling bee was won by Lori Runk, teacher at Grayson Elementary, who is now two-year champion in a row. Great job to everyone who participated. Now, regarding the arts, our 5th and 8th grade students attended the Pack the Pack event on Monday at the Kettering Performing Arts Center. The students were divided into groups where they either attended a performance of Waterford Mott and Kettering Performing Arts groups or a series of workshops where they experienced each performing art. This was made possible by the Mary Lou Simmons Performing Arts Experience from the Waterford Foundation. And again, we appreciate their strong support. Congratulations to Waterford Kettering's varsity volleyball team for earning Team Academic All-State from the Michigan Interscholastic Volleyball Coaches Association. To earn this Team Academic All-State, every athlete's GPA must be above the 3.25 minimum. Great job, captains. Now, lastly, as Member Wagner spoke about, and we did tonight earlier, this is the final board meeting of the 2023 calendar year, but I want to encourage all of our community to look on our website to see all of the many concerts, the activities, and the events that are taking place throughout the district, and enjoy a safe and happy holiday season.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. Enjoy the break. Enjoy some rest and relaxation. So seeing no further business, tonight's meeting is adjourned. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.